Jessica Shand, and I'm a flutist, I'm a performer, composer, and a multimedia artist. I have a background in mathematics and computer science, and my creative practice is really shaped by the various ecosystems that I've been lucky to move with and through. My friends, my teachers, my mentors, my family, beginning in my hometown of Colorado Springs and through to now. I'm currently based in Providence, Rhode Island, where I'm entering my third year as a PhD student in the program in music and multimedia composition at Brown. I want to thank Composers Now, especially Jonathan Katz, for the invitation and the platform to tell you a little bit about my work today. But before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to get started with a little bit of sound. This is going to be a piece from another talk I gave a little while back for an organization called the Steve Jobs Archive. This piece is called Etude Number 2. It's the second in a series of 12 transmutation etudes that I created in 2024, originally as fixed media works, but I've been adapting for live performance ever since. This particular etude is entirely built off of a kind of smearing of a single note on the flute across time, and then really exploring the inside of all the frequencies that that note contains. So just a little bit about me. I was initially trained in ballet. I fell in love with the flute at age 8, and I went on to study the Western classical tradition. Later on, I found myself most deeply aligned with the imaginative, playful, and relational sensibilities of a specific constellation of influences that included free jazz and contemporary improvisation on one hand, and on the other hand, geometry and topology. And I really see these as languages and toolboxes for exploring basically anything. I feel like inspiration can come from anywhere, but these are the toolboxes that really ground me. My work has taken many different modes, from commissioned compositions for ensembles to multimedia collaboration with film, community workshops, installations, and more. And right now I'm finding myself grounded in a key question, which is how can music create portals into more humane ways of moving through the world? It was while I was exploring creative sound design and real-time effects with Ableton and Max MSP, putting together my flute with electronic processing as an MIT grad student. It was there that I really began kind of restlessly asking these questions I was tired of performing virtuosity in the kind of Western classical mode, and I really needed a way to step into alternative characters and modes of listening. So that was where that exploration with electronics really came from for me, and that was really where composing and writing music also kind of became a thing for me. And so, yeah, it was with these electronics I turned the sound of my instrument into church bells, mosquitoes, babbling brooks. I played all these sounds for other people, and I asked them what they heard. And one of the most exciting results was that people always heard different things. So the next piece I'll share with you is another example from that same set of etudes called Etude number 1. This one starts with a plosive sound, a singular plosive sound on the flute, and expands outwards from there. I've created a visualizer for it, and I hope you enjoy. I began to perceive something really magical while I was making these in this idea of digital resynthesis, something that was more akin to alchemy than mere recombination. And these alchemical possibilities, in turn, reawakened within me a passion for these strange and absurd geometries and topologies that led me toward mathematics as an undergrad. I would describe my compositional process as rigorous, experimental, and I guess mathematical. But to me, mathematics is messy, fluid, and rooted in more than human relationship. There's this quote by Lauren Berlant. They wrote that history is neither in footnotes nor in the representation of historical figures or events, nor in style, but in atmospheres. And I think of atmospheres as unruly, unconfined by national borders. They're the space in which the world opens itself to our breath and itself becomes the breath of things, to quote the philosopher Emmanuel Kocha. And when I think about what I hope to offer to the world as a composer who happens to love the flute and the language of mathematics, it's this: the facilitation of emergent, shifting atmospheres, spaces for shared breath and life in which to collectively imagine and reimagine the world anew. And it's precisely this idea that kind of underpins the next piece I'll be sharing with you, which is a piece called All That Is Solid Melts into Air. I wrote it for flute and percussion and premiered it with the wonderful Russell Greenberg in May 2025. The piece is concerned with the intertwined possibilities of corrosion and care implied by elemental interactions between metal and air. It comes out of a transcription that I did of Joe Henderson's tenor saxophone solo on a piece called Air from the album The Elements from 1974 with Alice Coltrane. And this piece attends to more than human temporalities of improvisation across varied grooves and textures. So much of my music making has been in community with other people. There's few things that I love more than playing with other people, as a performer and as a writer. And to me, the meaning of collaboration, the meaning of performance, these things take on shapes that are never linear. They always fold back in on themselves in these recursive, looping forms and engage openings rather than narrowings of meaning. That's the ideal, at least for me, when it comes to making work together. And so the next piece that I wrote really came out of these considerations of recursion and looping. This is a moment when I started to get into working with cassette tape. Last fall, I wrote this piece on commission by Claire Chase, the incredible Claire Chase, and the Department of Music at Harvard for the Harvard New Music Ensemble. I wrote it over the course of the fall 2025 semester with the students in the ensemble, kind of talking back and forth, bringing them ideas, hearing their feedback and their contributions as improvisers, and kind of shaping and molding the piece in that way. So the piece includes voice memos that were submitted by the students. I asked them each to imagine the best possible scenarios for a future 10, 20, or 50 years from now. And so the piece is called 14 Memories of the Future for the 14 students that wrote their memories of the future. And their responses spoke generously not only to their personal hopes, but also to their aspirations for their fields, their relationships, society at large. They were really inspiring. And the memos were then combined and transformed by me using fundamental tape techniques such as layering, stretching, splicing, and reversing. And the resulting mixtape, which was burned onto 14 cassette tapes, is distributed across the ensemble and manipulated in real time with each performer equipped with both a tape and a cassette player. The whole piece is around 25 minutes long, so I'll just be sharing a couple of excerpts with you here.
And I hope that she's a grandmother. She might be a great grandmother, but you know, that's none of that is really up to her. I hope that she's going to this tradition of passing that song.
So, one of the big dualities that's been shaping my work most recently has been this tension between world building, the desire to create new worlds and new ways of being, and unworlding, which is this idea of destruction, creative destruction, embracing decay and entropy as kind of a necessary precursor to this world building. But I really see these things as mutually intertwined. And my relationship with these ideas has really led me to pursue visual media, including film. It's been one of the most exciting types of collaborations that I've been able to do recently. So, in that vein, I'm going to share with you two more projects to close out this talk. The first will be an excerpt from a short film created by my friend Wendy Yan called Visions of Phosphine Earth, for which I wrote the score and played flutes and electronics for that one. The next project that I'll share will be a sequence of highlights from my most recent large-scale collaboration, which was with a friend named Jay Wong, another incredibly talented friend, and it's called How to Break Almost Anything. It is an hour-long film and multimedia concert experience. Jay and I wrote the story together, and then Jay directed the film. And I ended up acting in it. I also ended up, of course, writing the score. That was sort of my main intention to begin with, and performing the score live with this quintet of musicians and also friends, Devin Gates, Charles Overton, Martine Thomas, and Eliza Salem. We premiered it back in April here at Brown, and I am now in a place where I'm searching for new places to kind of continue to allow this work to grow and develop. I'm super excited about it. So without further ado, here is, first of all, Visions of Phosphine Earth, and then How to Break Almost Anything. All right, thank you so much again for tuning in today. There's one final thing that I wanted to leave you with, which is that there's so much transformation that I believe happens through music, through the physiological sensation of sound. And also, it's all the things that happen around the edges of a piece of music, I think. The kinds of revelations that we have in the concert hall, the thing that motivates you to pick up the phone and call someone you haven't spoken to in a long time and tell them about this crazy show that you just watched, or the conversation that you're having with the person sitting next to you. These things are really, really magical to me, this ability to talk about and kind of do the work around music. And through this, I feel like I've really found that no one actually listens to music the same way. And I think this is where some of that alchemy can really begin. So thank you so much again, and please be in touch and have a wonderful day.